Records show that all city council members are present with the exception of Councilor Arnold, who is excused. We also have members of the city staff with us, as well as members of the public. I have asked Mr. Cody Carden if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everyone rise and please repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have, thank you, Mr. Carden. I've invited Pastor Eric Sitterud from the Alpine Church here in Riverdale to offer our invocation tonight. So we'll just have him step up to the microphone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. All right, let's pray. Father, we come to you and we seek to continue to be one nation under God, and we believe that all knowledge and wisdom comes from you and blessing comes down from you. Every perfect and good and perfect gift comes from you. And so we pray just for civil conversation, that you would guide this meeting, that you would be present here with us, that people would consider all the things that you said as they interact with each other. And I just pray blessing over Riverdale City. And I pray that you would continue to help it be fruitful and flourish, and that you would provide just all the things that the city needs, and help us to thank you for all the blessing you've already given us. And I pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to public comment. This is an opportunity for people to address the city council regarding your concerns or ideas. No action will be taken during the public comment. As you approach the microphone, please state your name and the city that you reside in, and please try to limit your comments to about 3 minutes.
Hello. We are the Garcia family. I'm here with my dad. We live at 4132 Parker Drive in Riverdale. And the reason for our visit today is we visited here before, mentioning about the lighting in the street. Once you go down the park on Parker Drive, there's a post on 4175, I believe, lighting. The next one isn't till the next block. The only two concerns is that it's very dim lighting. Can't really see much except for that one spot that it dims down on. And then kind of the huge gap without lighting there. Just safety reasons and stuff. It's not the most lit up area. It's a very busy road. So we would just hope, that could be a thought of putting more lighting or just an LED lighting in the posts. I remember the last time it was budget issues, and that's fine. But even if it could take time to build up and get a little more brightness of lighting out there, we would even be willing to, if you guys needed to use our property, we would be willing if you guys wanted to put a post. We're not asking for like a huge industrial post, just something to give it a little more lighting. Our other concern is we live across the wall for the freeway. And I don't know if the fires in the past have been controlled, but we've had probably 2 or 3 fires. It's super dry in the area. We obviously want Riverdale to look its best, but up against that wall, it's not its best. It attracts rats, we've had cats, and just a bunch of little debris stuff we don't want around there, and it's a huge fire hazard being dry. I know, again, that time making it not so much like pretty and garden area, but just to keep it maintained and cut. I don't think it would be too much to ask, just to have it tended to a little more. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just the lighting and across that whole road, if it could just have a little more maintenance. It's our only real concerns.
What was your address again?
4132 Parker Drive.
So you're talking about
The freeway, the sound wall, I think.
No, that's UDOT property.
Oh, would that be them?
Yeah, on the other side of that road, that's UDOT. And that's part of the problem is we don't. Our guys have actually gone in there at times because it gets so bad, and they'll mow that down. But that's state property, so we really shouldn't even be doing that. But occasionally they will, if it gets so out of hand. But I will meet with Mr. Douglas tomorrow and talk both these issues. And did you fill out your name and number on that
Yes.
sheet? Okay.
Name, but we'll put the phone number.
Put your
down.
number, so I'll get back with you once I find out more. But that's part of the problem on that other side. Is that's not our property. So just so you know.
That and also, if I could,
Yep.
that the church group that's on Parker, they have their youth go up there, and I don't know how far they go down in each direction. We'll pick up from time to time. Now it's not on a regular basis, but and
And it's a long stretch. I
Yes,
know
it
it's
is.
a long stretch
and
of
I
that.
and I know
and-
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and we've woken up to fire just two cars down, and there's a fire in front of us. I
the
don't think
wall,
it
there would
comes
be
to the
A
homes, but
chain dragging, or there'd be something that would flip a spark over on.
Yeah.
We haven't had the fire problems. Chief can probably vouch for this, since the wall's gone up.
Yeah.
But that was a
that you guys
an
did
issue.
address. That's awesome. Yeah.
that until the wall kind of helped on that.
Yes.
But then it becomes a backstop for the wind and the litter and the debris.
It
refuse.
collects all right there.
Yes.
Mr.
And
Brooks?
those are not controlled burns. I can assure you that much. Those we respond to them, but they're not. We don't do that.
Okay, because
Not there,
some
especially.
places sometimes just burn the weeds.
Yeah,
to
but
get
we
rid
don't
of,
do
but
up
not
there. No, again, that's not our property. But we do respond to the fires. But that's not. We don't create that.
Okay.
Just so you know, and we don't want to burn a house down over there.
Yeah,
so
that's
we're
not
not going
like-
to take that chance. So.
But I'll just tell you that the lighting is one of the things that concerns me, and I think I know what light you're talking about, and I think maybe just a better lighting fixture would maybe play a big
Yeah,
role,
and
help that a lot. So
that's just the safety because we have a lot of kids in there. We fenced
dark
up our
spot there.
house. We're the only ones on that whole street that have a metal fence.
Yeah.
But anything to keep everyone safe and have more lighting because I know with cameras you can't even see anything out into the road if something were to happen. My brother's truck got robbed into, his work computers and everything, and if we were to have cameras we wouldn't have been able to see anything.
yeah,
So,
very good.
but that's everything.
Thank you
me.
for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no other, we'll move on to presentations and reports. I just had a couple of quick things. We are working on our new general plan. We got approved for a grant, as you guys are probably aware, and now we're working through applicants to choose somebody. My newsletter article that's going to come out will be about that. We have one really solid applicant that's really going to engage the public and really looks like a good project. But Mr. Eggett's working very hard on that, and so just keep an eye out for that. It's going to be maybe one of the biggest things that you guys play a role in during your time on the council. So, and then the other thing is,
Can I ask something?
sure.
Does that route through the planning commission before we see it?
Yeah.
But it's a public process, so there'll be open houses and that sort of thing that council members will be invited to attend and hopefully participate in.
They initiate the okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Under state code, they steer that they have a lot of input on that. Yeah.
Okay.
And then just one other thing. There was a document left out of our packet from Randy Koger. And I don't know if it was just because it was not part of the packet that I spent a little more time reading it, but he's a really busy guy. I mean, his titles are fire marshal, emergency manager, and code enforcement. And I was like, wow. I mean, that guy is really wearing a lot of hats. And that's one of the things, if we are able to get a little bit of a property tax increase, that we can hopefully maybe separate code enforcement off him or get something off him. I think that's the thing that suffers the worst is code enforcement because it's kind of the least maybe important of the three things. But anyway, so just tell him, I guess he's in your department, but it's kind of weird that, he's kind of split between you guys. Just give him a pat on the back. I mean, that guy's really working his tail off, and he really does, and he needs some help. So we appreciate all he's doing. Let's see. Okay, we'll now move on to the city administration report.
Thank you, Mayor. The department heads' reports are all in your packet, and most of them are here. I don't know if you have any questions on any of the things that might be in there. Pretty kind of standard routine kind of stuff that we see each month. As far as July anniversary, speaking of Mr. Koger, he is first and foremost on our list there at 32 years. So I was rubbing him a little bit today about how old he is. I can do that because we were classmates, so he
What
can't
year?
say much. What's that?
32.
32 years here with the city.
I don't know what year. Quit
I'm not
class.
telling you that much, Bart. Hey, she went to school with me too, so she's younger than me, but yeah, 1979.
Jeez,
Yeah,
you are old.
I am an old man.
We're in the same league. I did.
Yep,
You don't have much gray hair either.
I know I'm losing it all, Bart, as fast as it's coming in anymore. I did want to mention a couple other ones on there. We have some certificates tonight, but I don't really see anybody here. Wasn't Ryan coming? Is he here? Anyway, and Randy, you know, obviously 32 years, and Brandon Peterson sitting at 20. We knew Brandon wouldn't be here. He's on vacation, if I understand correctly. That's one we're a little bit worried about. We may not have him much longer. Once they hit the 20, then they can go. Lynn Wright sitting at 19 years, so both those are police officers that we could lose here with next to a year or two. So Ryan, I always say Ryan, hit his 5-year, as did Travis over in Public Works, and Sherry Brown in Rich's department, and then John Van Dyke hit 5 years from fire department. So we want to recognize them. We have these certificates. We'll get those all to them since none of them are here tonight. But
Councilor Stevens.
You just brought up something. Chief Brinkman, when did the Tier 1 is 20 years, Tier 2 is 25 years? Because you talk about losing
Right.
police officers, and that's a very sensitive topic, potentially losing because they're so hard to replace. Where is the threshold where the Tier 2 starts coming in? Is that, I don't know, because if somebody hits 20 years, they potentially can retire at any point. How many more, anyway, maybe this is for a future topic, where we can see the longevity of,
What year did they?
So I think it was 2000. It was July 1st, I believe, of 2012.
okay.
It was
so-
11 or 12 that
so
Tier 2
everybody
went into
who was
effect.
hired before
Years
that,
ago.
that time would be in Tier 1. Okay, so if I look at somebody who's got 12, 14 years, they're a Tier 1 and can go at 20. Okay. And is that about half your department, third of your department? Not good. All right, thank you.
Continuing staffing authorization, which you saw in there as well, continues where it's been. We have had a couple of little changes. We're actually in the process right now of hiring a police officer and not getting a lot of applicants on it. So this is dragging on a little bit more. And Chief Shawley, I believe, is also in the process. I'm not sure if he got that finalized or not. So these were things we'd kind of, well, at least Shawley's we were planning on. Scott's was a retirement. So exactly what we've been talking about. We're losing these good seasoned officers. It's getting really tough. Mike, did you have anything you want to mention on community development?
Maybe, I guess now I shake my head, but one thing, Chick-fil-A will be closing its doors for 4 to 5 months. I know they only say 4 months, but there's issues, especially right now, with getting hard materials like concrete. So estimate more like 5 to 6 is what I tell you. And if you get 4, be happy. So that
We have in place like a 12-step program for those people.
to wean them
Just go to 12th Street.
Yeah, just go a little bit more to the north for now. But don't start a new behavior. We still want you to come back here in about 5
Or
months.
Canes. They can go to Canes. and
Could go to Canes.
Keep it in Riverdale. Let's not go
yeah.
to 12th Street.
So the 21st, 22nd, you'll start to see fencing and doors being shuttered. So there you go.
And of the other ones Mike had on his little list there, Fizz is making progress. They're getting closer. Home Goods and Sierra, we're getting a lot of good feedback on those. I'm kind of excited to see those come in, especially the Home Goods. I've never even been into one, but it seems to be a woman's store or something, and they were quite popular. And
Where
we're
is
going to be the
Fizz
closest.
exactly?
The old Gormans on those two.
Fizz is back.
Oh, Fizz. Fizz is over by Take 5, the one over behind Denny's,
Okay.
right there.
All right.
And yeah, I think we just got plans on that today or yesterday. It just barely moved. So yeah, so that one's getting closer. I did put in there the legislative summary that I try to do every year that I can. That's gone out to the department heads. They've all received that in case there's some changes we need. And I did see a couple as I was going through that we'll have to make some changes here in the near future. Most of that stuff kicks in July 1, so we're a little bit behind, but I don't think that's unusual. But I don't know if you had any questions on those. I try to color code that to the department. May not be completely accurate, but it's close. I mean, there's some interest or involvement there. And sometimes I just mark it because I want them to read it, because I think it's something that they receive a lot of their own training, so this is nothing new to them. Most of them probably already know about this stuff. But we will have to make a few little changes and stuff to make sure we're in compliance with the new state changes. So
Who writes that?
it's a group of civil and prosecuting attorneys that I go to a convention every spring, and we spend 3 days going over that thing. So
There's some pretty funny comments.
They do a
I don't
good
know.
job
There's,
with that.
There's some. I don't know if anybody caught those comments, but some of the.
I take a lot of those out because I
They're
don't
very
want you to think that that's all we
sarcastic,
do. But I don't know if Annie goes that or not. But
Yeah.
they have some great things. Once in a while, I'll leave them in because I think you guys need to hear that sometimes, and so I'll leave a couple of them in there. But there's usually a lot more than that. But it's more applicable to attorneys, and so I pull them out just so it's not boring you, because it's awfully long. I think that was 70 pages or something.
The food truck one, I'd go read that one. It's really funny. At the end, they're like,
Oh, they have a
just
heyday
give
with them
up.
sometimes.
And then the firearms one saying cities can't do anything, only state. And I mean, they make Mullen Lobby like comments and all kinds of funny I mean, it's pretty sarcastic. But
They do a
I was
really good job
surprised.
with that. Steve Garside, if you guys know him.
I know him. Yeah.
Steve's one of them that contributes to that, but there's a whole group of them. There's probably 20 of them that contribute, so it's awfully big. But they
I'll go
do
back
a
and
really
read it
good
if
job.
I was you guys. It's funny.
Yeah. No, it's very informative. And if you have any questions on that, and even some extended versions on that, I probably have more if you want to read it. I don't expect you to. That's a long
I
document.
just figured those guys are a little jaded.
They certainly are.
And they don't have their filters on quite as
No,
tight as they need
and
to.
they think they're only talking to attorneys, but I do share that with you, so I'm sure other people do as well. But that's a good document. And I don't know if you had any questions on that, but that's really all I had as far as the administration report. I could just quickly, just as an update, we had a really good meeting with Weber Basin. This is just more informative than anything. And we may have a solution to our water issues we did not know about, and we were very surprised and pleased. That will be coming very soon, we hope. But if we can work that out, it may solve all of our woes. And we've informed a couple of those developments that they may
That's
be
a
able to go
pretty
forward.
broad term, and you're not going to leave us hanging.
Well, we haven't received all the information. What we basically found, and I don't want to get into too much detail because I didn't put this on the agenda, but there's water available out there that we didn't know was available and out there that's at a reasonable price in different tiers and stuff. Kind of what we had talked about when we were beating this thing initially, but it's from Weber Basin. And we just got informed of this, and we're kind of going, well, whoa, why didn't you tell us about this? So what we would end up doing is probably contracting for additional amounts of water, which it's the initial price is a little bit more expensive, but that would be passed on to the developers, just like we wanted to do. And then the remaining would be similar to what's already charged for Riverdale residents or commercial developments. So it really could be a win-win for us. And they're getting towards the end of their main allotment right now, so that's why we want to move on it quick and grab what we can before that expires. But they anticipate that they will do a different allotment. It'll just be more expensive. So at most, we'll probably only be looking at 2 of them before Riverdale reaches build out. So we were really excited. This was not expected, and we did not know. Sean didn't even know about it. Nobody had ever talked to him about this. So you'll be seeing something really soon. So we'll just tweak our code to pick that up. So we think you'll like that. It's about the only solution we have. So, but it saves all of our developments at this point. So
Very good. All right. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. We'll now move on to consent items. Consideration to approve the meeting minutes from the July 5th, 2022 council work session and council meeting. Is there any changes or corrections to those minutes?
I had one. My name was spelled wrong on the first of the work minute. That's okay.
You were so close.
I'm
to
not that
perfect.
kind of
This is
Hanson.
close.
Did not see it. Was it with an O or?
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Just
Okay.
in one spot.
So that is one correction. Anything else? Seeing none, a motion be in order.
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good. That passes unanimously. We'll now move on to our action items. The first one is a motion to approve a new liquor license. Local consent for Maverick, located at approximately 1472 West Riverdale Road in Riverdale. That is Miss Maragoni.
So this is for the new Maverick, Lewis Nylander. That you is here representing them. He is currently the store director at the existing store, and will be moving over to the new store when it is open. So we have all of his information. We know he's okay. Packet went through the background check with the police department. They didn't find any issues, so they've paid for their business license, and everything they to turn in is here.
Any questions or comments on this item? If not, a motion would be in order.
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this one? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Looks like you'll get a liquor license. Okay. Item number 2, consideration of ordinance 954 regarding proposed rezone request from the mobile home park recreational vehicle park, zoning to multiple family residential R4 zoning for property located at approximately 671 West, 4400 South. Mr. Eggett.
Thank you. Representing the group H&H 39th Street LLC tonight is Matthew Steiner, who is present. So if there's any questions for him, and of course he can come up and introduce the project, well, the rezone request as well after I'm done. The zoning surrounding the property is R5, C3, RMH1, and the site is approximately 4.62 acres of land at this location. On June 28th, the matter came before the Planning Commission with a public hearing component that was advertised in accordance with state law. And during or prior to that meeting, we did receive one telephone inquiry and a couple of letters of concern that were read on the record prior to the actual public hearing commencing. So during the public hearing, we had various comments from affected parties or individuals who wanted to comment regarding the request. And at the conclusion of the public hearing, the Planning Commission did forward a favorable recommendation to the City Council with the findings as noted in the draft minutes found in the packet. With tonight's motion, we as staff request that the City Council make clearly attributed findings of fact associated with whatever motion is decided. Following that, just as a quick guidance with the general plan, the general plan land use master plan element are advisory documents established for guidance regarding citywide land use decisions. You can see that the general plan has it listed as residential medium density for this area of the city found in area 7 of the master land use map. And you can see what the definition is of a medium density residential project as found within the general plan. And it's in the executive summary here. Following the executive summary, you'll see the ordinance number 954 for this requested rezone and the general plan language and map supporting it. You'll see the minutes from the Planning Commission meeting, as well as the applicant's documentation and his reasoning for the request, and then the checklist showing the public hearing notice for the rezone request. I will also note one comment that I didn't note in the work session or up to this point, but it is something that is still applicable. There have been and continue to be multiple code enforcement concerns and violations in this residential area over the years, and there have also been fire hazards, including multiple fires and other safety hazards and behaviors identified in the residential area throughout the more recent years. So that is just, it may or may not affect the zone, but it is a concern that our staff does have with the area. To that point, or to the point of the rezone request, and as it was requested during the work session, any decision made tonight, if it was in favor of a rezone request, hypothetically speaking, the use of the property as a mobile home park does not change. It would become a legal non-conforming zoned use, and the residents would not have any, I guess the property owner would not have any immediate removal of residential rights or needs at that point. The residents could stay there if and when a time came that the property was to be redeveloped. The owners and property owners, and Mr. Steiner can help maybe explain this further, but They do have to notify all the residents that live therein of that change of use, and the residents are afforded by state law 9 months minimum to relocate once they get that notice from the property owner. So just as a point of clarification, or for anybody who may be listening or otherwise, that's how this would work in the event that the rezone was approved for that. And with that, I would defer to the council if you have any questions for me or Mr. Steiner. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Would we like to have Mr. Steiner come up and explain a little bit about why they're asking for this rezone and what they're planning?
Well, I'm happy to have the time and answer any questions that you had. We had a discussion last fall about it, and 3 weeks ago, I guess, at the Planning Commission, and we try to answer any questions that you have. We're excited to come back in here and potentially get the rezone so that we can move forward with the property. It's been a difficult property, and the pandemic made it worse. Our hands are tied in a lot of respects to be able to move forward and do things there, because we can't evict people that are not paying rent, not very easily. There's no law that stops that, but the judges have been really slow to make that happen. And anyway, so it's become more difficult over the past 2 years than it, but it's never been an easy one. And this group that owns this manages 3 mobile home parks up and down the Wasatch Front, and this is the one that it's been near impossible to bring up to the standard that it should be. And anyway, that's kind of the context for the desire to move forward with a different use on the property and make it more of a viable investment and a viable functioning commercial property.
Any questions for Mr. Steiner? Councilor Hilton.
Can you give us kind of a quick description of the state of the property right now? How many tenants are there? How many are current? How many are delinquent? And how deteriorated is the property?
So I got some updates from the ownership and management group today. There's 55 pads in the park. In a normal month, and this is over on average over the time that they've owned it, you collect between 45 and 50 tenants pretty easily, pretty normally pay. This month, as of today, 26 people haven't paid their July rent, and they've all been given notice to pay, or they're going to go through the eviction process. Just this week, one of the property managers came up. So that's the status right now. Over the time, we were also reviewing today like code enforcement things, and the last 2 reports of code enforcement from this year that the owners had were March and in January. I heard Randy's name here early. Is it Randy or Roger? Randy.
Randy.
And so that came up talking to the owner today, and there were 9 in January and 14 in March, and I don't know if they've been out and cited the property again since. But one of the things that happens, because there's lots of problems over there, there's lots of health and safety issues, and where the tenants are renters, kind of like a ground lease there, the owner's recourse to enforce code enforcements, because the owner cannot go on there, in their home and make them comply. They can't physically go repair the roof. Yeah, the landlord cannot go repair the roof or that kind of stuff. Anyway, what happens is you give them notice. They have 30 days to fix it. If they don't, you go through an eviction process. And so again, that process has been dramatically hindered. I don't know how many are super familiar with it. When they first took over the park, they had lots of that, and they evicted a lot of people right at the beginning. And they actually destroyed a lot of the mobile homes. And those mobile homes, most of them, not all, but most of them are old enough that they have to be crushed on site. And so they went through that process. And then you go through a releasing process, but no new mobile homes have come in because the sites, the way they're laid out, fit the old style mobile homes and not new ones if someone was to buy one and come in. So releasing to mobile homes has been difficult. And so they end up with RVs and that kind of stuff. And there's been on and off squatters there. And anyway, it's just not been able to function the way it should as a viable mobile home park. So I could go into more details about it, but there's been sabotage problems, there's been crime problems. There's just lots of things that go on that make it very difficult to manage in a normal fashion of a commercial operating property, which leads to problems for the tenants, because lots of the tenants are great tenants who do pay their rent, do upkeep. Some have even bought their units in the last year, and they're very frustrated by this process because they weren't told that this was going to happen, and who was selling it to them didn't disclose things. And anyway, what happens is those good tenants complain to us about fixing things up, and it just goes in circles because they're frustrated because it's not safe or nice for them to live there either because of the mix. Anyway.
Has the property owner done any evaluation of what it would cost, or is it viable to upgrade to fit the different size mobile homes, the new size?
That I do not think they have, because I have not heard that discussed, but they have looked pretty substantially and got a consultant out and a company to camera and evaluate all the plumbing, because before they came to do this submission, they were trying to evaluate what it would take to upgrade all the sewer lines, because that's been an ongoing problem, sewer and water. And so they've looked at doing that, and I don't know the numbers that it came back with, but they started down that path and then decided to come and talk to the city again. And I came up with them, 2 months ago or something, and we started talking about this path again. It's a very nice size and location to be redeveloped as something that would be more dense and be a nice product for the city, be relatively affordable, but it would accommodate more people in a healthier, safer environment.
Thank you.
Councilor Stevens.
Before, when you came in asking for a rezone, it was for an R5. Now you're asking for an R4. So why not an R3? So why R4? What's
Well,
your...
as they've looked at it, they think that zoning, the owners, looked at it and thinks that zoning would accommodate the type of products that would work in that location and be financially viable, but also for the size of the space and everything. And they came, I guess, less aggressive than the R5. I don't know if that fully answers. We can talk about it more. But anyway, as they've evaluated the different potential products, now there's a range of different products that would work there, and they have not narrowed in on the best product. They've done some preliminary thoughts, and they did last year too, but they have not dialed in on exactly what would work.
This isn't particularly, the question I'm going to ask is not necessarily pertaining to whether or not I endorse this zoning change or not, but is the same owners who own the Leslie owned across the street, is that the same?
No.
The Trailside Apartments, no, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. No, it's not.
Where are you talking about across the street?
The other mobile home park that's to the north,
not the mobile home, the lot where they're...
48 unit apartment. Is that you're talking about Trailside Apartments? Yeah.
No, that's different. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, a motion would be in order.
Okay.
Councilor Hilton.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we approve this as stated in the packet. I believe that the property owner has made a compelling case that this property would be better served to be redeveloped. You have a problem there. I think we understand you have a problem. The city feels the pain of that same problem, and we've given you a year to remedy the situation, and it's not remedied, it's worse. So I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
Well, I'm just going to say something needs to be done, but I'm not big on R5. I'm definitely not big on R5. I'm not big on R4. I think an R3 would be better. I'm not going to support it. Not because of, anyway, I'm more of an advocate of doing it as an R3. The density is very concerning to me. Anyway.
Okay. All right, let's have a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Should I do a roll call on that one? Okay, let's do a roll call on that one. Ms. Maragoni.
Counselor Merrill?
Aye.
Counselor Hanson?
Aye.
Counselor Hilton?
Aye.
Counselor Stevens?
No.
Okay, that passes 3 in favor and 1 opposed. Thank you, Mr. Steiner, for your time.
to speak.
Okay. We'll now move on to item number 3, consideration of resolution 2022-26, adopting the interlocal cooperation agreement for hazardous materials recovery and cleanup. Chief Shawley.
Thank you, Mayor. So that's an agreement between all the county fire departments and Weber County itself, but it allows us to have a hazmat company come in through a rotation, and those companies are evaluated and then recommended. And so it gives us opportunity to have or help them mitigate as well as clean up a mess, which is valuable when we look at rail and we look at DOT and we look at even businesses. So
Very good. Any questions for Chief Shawley on that? If there are none, okay.
Move
Councilor
to
Stevens. Okay.
approve the resolution 2022-26 adopting the interlocal cooperation agreement for hazardous material recovery and cleanup.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this motion? All right, this is a resolution. Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Hilton?
Aye.
Counselor Merrill?
Aye.
Counselor Hanson?
Aye.
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
All right, very good. That passes unanimously. Chief Shawley, go ahead and stay up here for your next item. Number 4, this is consideration of Resolution 2022-27, adopting the amendment to the Interlocal Cooperative Agreement for Seal and Secure Services. Chief Shawley.
So we've also used this agreement quite a few times over the years. It's a very good agreement. Basically, we've have to pick a lot of different cleanup companies that can come out and board up free of cost to our residents or businesses. And at that point, then they can move on to the residents or business and offer their services through their insurance companies. But it's through a rotation system, and dispatch handles that for us.
Okay, any questions? Councilor Hilton.
Move to approve resolution 2022-27 as stated in the packet.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on this one? Okay, this is a resolution. So Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
Counselor Hanson?
Aye.
Counselor Hilton?
Aye.
Counselor Merrill?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you, Chief Shawley. That passes unanimously. We'll move on to item number 5, approval of lease of infrastructure agreement with Eminent Technical Solutions for the city's communication tower located near the city's water tanks and Roy Water Conservancy District facility. Mr. Cardin.
Thank you, Mayor. So as we talked a little bit in the work session, this is for a communication tower that's located up just off Ritter Drive next to the water tanks. This lease is a 3-year lease that would give us an opportunity to kind of recapture part of the initial cost of establishing this communication tower. And we'll just kind of see how it goes if the council sees fit to move forward with a lease, and we'll see how much revenue it generates. Our cell tower back here, we generate, I believe it's like $2,700 a month. So I don't know if would generate that much, but it would help offset those initial setup costs of that tower. So
Just curious, what was the setup cost of that tower up there?
it was about 75 to 80,000 is what I remember.
That's okay.
So somewhere right in there.
Any other questions? Councilor Stevens.
Move to approve the lease of infrastructure agreement with Eminent Technical Solutions for the city's communication tower located near the city's water tank.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, you can pick Ms. Maragoni on those two right on together. So, any discussion on that motion? All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yes. Okay, that's unanimous again. Thank you. That passes. The next one is related to that one, and this is approval of a master service agreement renewal with Eminent Technical Solutions with updated pricing. Mr. Carden.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is just a 3-year lease update with ETS, our internet provider. They do our IT, and we do several other services through them. They really do a pretty good job. We just wanted to bring that lease back into you and get an update. So.
Feel like you're getting a good deal from them?
We feel like we're getting a pretty good deal on some of the stuff. Like we use them for our phones now. When we went out to bid for a new phone system, it was going to be like $90,000, and we pay them. I don't remember right off the top of my head, but it's about $1,000 a month, and it's a way better phone system. So we feel like each individual component has been like that. When we went out and we've priced stuff, we've ended up with like a really good solution through them, and it makes it really easy. Because before, like if we had an internet problem, I'd call ETS and they'd say, well, it's the internet. And then I'd call the internet provider and they'd say, well, it's ETS. And now I just call ETS and they fix it. So it works really well for us. So.
Great. Any other questions? Councilor Merrill.
Move to approve the master service agreement renewal with Eminent Technical Solutions and updated pricing.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously as well. Do we have any comments from the city council for this meeting? Okay, how about from the city staff?
You know, the only thing I'd say, actually two things. Congratulations to Rich, who's not here. He's actually at a CTC training, I believe, back in Georgia or something, on their dime. So that was part of that grant we got from him. So he's gone, but kudos to them for the old glory days. I think they did a good job with a couple little hiccups in there, but we're just finishing up all the residue of that. But the other thing I wanted to mention is I got a phone call from this is the thing I told you last time, that I had something I was going to tell you and I forgot. The fiber optic company that we talked to before that connects had contacted us about 3 weeks ago looking for a staging place. And I put them in contact with Sean. So they are here or very soon going to be. So that will be moving forward, just so y'all know. You'll start seeing them throwing that in. I haven't seen them yet, but I know they're awfully close. Have you seen or heard anything, Cody? I told them to talk to Sean because I told them they could even use maybe our piece down there behind Sam's and different things if they had to. But I haven't seen anything yet, but I know they're very close to moving here. They're ready to roll. So just so you know all that.
Okay.
Is that going to be in the newsletter?
I should, huh? Maybe I need something for next month. I'm running out of ideas, so maybe I don't know. That's kind of an endorsement. I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah, we got to be careful with that one.
Yeah,
we're
that
not
one might
really
be a little
promoting
tough. I told
them,
them
but
that
they are here. So
they could stage down in River Glen if they want to and just start putting it in right
yeah,
there. So.
let's invite them to do that.
You don't know how tempted we were to send a truck down there, park right in front of Braden's house just for the heck of it.
I don't care. They can park in my driveway. I'll move my RV, like whatever.
Start there. That's the
yeah,
condition.
Start there, and you're good to go. So.
Good news. We're glad to hear that, and they're moving pretty quick, and they were excited to get here. So they got to move this way to continue on. So
great
should be going pretty fast.
Okay. Anything else from the city staff?
No.
I just had a couple of quick things here. In the packet, it shows our water usage, and I don't know if you guys watched and looked how much we're down, but we're probably down 50% over last year. That's the residents and the business. I mean, amazing amount of water that we've reduced. So Sean's got to be real happy about that. I was hoping he'd be here, but that's significant. I mean,
you drive around the neighborhood.
Yeah, there's a lot of burned up lawns.
Like brown.
Yeah, all of us are kind of suffering through that, and it's tough, but we are making a difference as far as cutting it back. So.
We keep getting complaints on that too. We've had people that have come from out of town and they'll call because all of our lawns are burning up. They don't know what we've done.
Yeah.
And so it's been one of those really delicate issues that we can't. You're just gonna have to live with it this year. That's just what it is.
This year, hopefully, we'll turn around it. I did see Canes put all new xeriscaping in front of their place. The businesses are doing a great job, and they look good. I think Buffalo Wild Wings has started on their remodel project, so that's good. And then the last thing I had is I will be gone the next meeting, and so Councilor Arnold will be functioning as the mayor pro tem. That'll be good for him. Please be kind to him. It's not that easy to sit up here and do this. So actually, it's also a good time to pay him back if you.
Mayor pro tem move to approve an acting mayor.
Oh, I don't
Can
know.
he vote?
I don't know. I wondered that. Yeah, he could maybe unseat me while I'm gone. I don't know. We'll see.
So he can vote because he's still part of the council. technically the mayor is not, but he still would be where he's just filling in like that. So yeah, he would still vote.
Okay.
That he can
Make his own motions.
Make the motions.
Make some motions, yeah.
The problem would be is if we had one of you gone, because then we wouldn't have anybody breaking a tie if it ended up being a 2-2. So we don't want to do that. We'll try and make sure we don't have anything really hot and controversial on that meeting. So
Yeah. Keep an eye on him. Okay, very good. This is a good meeting, good fast meeting. So with that, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. We are adjourned. Thank you. That was a great meeting. Got through that stuff quickly. We do have an RDA meeting that we're going to move into. Does anybody need a break of any sort, or want to just get through this quick? Okay, everybody good? That was Lewis from the Maverick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's the store manager. He'll be the new one. Yeah.
No one?
Nobody. Isn't that surprising?
Shocked.
I'm shocked too. Okay, we'll go ahead and start our, Ms. Margoni, you ready? Go ahead and start our Riverdale City RDA Board meeting for Tuesday, July 19th, 2022. Please let the record show that all board members are present, with the exception of board member Arnold, who is excused. We will skip the public comment section as there is none. No one here. We will move on to presentations and reports.
give you a little introduction.
We have an RDA audit report from Mr. Eggett.
I've made a couple mentions of this as we've been going here the last couple of months, but you guys haven't heard the full details. We actually have a meeting with the state representative tomorrow on her findings on this. But they came in, it's been a few months now, and to Mike's credit, he's really spearheaded this one. It's been a lot of work that we did not see coming. But they wanted to audit first they just came and said they wanted to do one of our RDAs. Well, ironically, they picked the most complicated, biggest one we've got, the 1050 over there with the senior center and all that kind of stuff, because there was so much work put into that one. And we did, I should say Larry, because he spearheaded that, and not in a bad way. That's a good thing for us. But we pulled things out of our hat on that thing. And now, years later, we get called on it. And they want all this documentation. It has been a nightmare, to put it mildly. But I thought it was fair that I needed to keep you guys informed on what was going. So I asked Mike to get just a short presentation ready, just so you guys kind of understood what we're going through. We don't know where this is going to go. My thought is the state's seriously looking at maybe even getting rid of RDAs or really crimping down on them. And so we were very careful. We tried not to hide anything. We were as open as we could. But even back in those days, there were certain things that we weren't even required to keep. And so finding it was just, this has been a nightmare, to put it mildly. So Mike's done a great job. Between Mike and Cody, this has taken up way more time than we ever anticipated. But anyway, that's why I'm having him report to you tonight.
What is the risk? What could happen?
I don't know that we've done anything wrong. I mean, we followed the book just the way we should have, so I don't think we can get in trouble. I just think that the state may look at that and say, we gave them too much latitude and we got to crimp down and crack down, and so you may see some changes. We don't even know who's doing it. They're not really forthright with us. We know it's a state representative, and somehow I think she's reporting back to some type of legislative committee. So we don't know where this is going. It's just been really scary for us, but we did the best we could, gave them everything we had that we could find, and we were required to. But it's just, that's a tough one, man. They could have picked any RDA in the city, we'd have been fine. But like, we have big binders up there in Michelle's records room, and each one of those RDAs has one of those 1 4-inch ones. This one's got 3. I mean, it's just, and that's not everything.
And 2 supplements.
Yeah, and some supplements. So this thing's been a nightmare. But anyway, that's why I asked Mike just to report to you on that.
Yeah, so to give a little more context of what it is and where it came from, the individual I'm working with, her name is Nicole Lucier. She's the lead performance auditor for the Utah Office of the Legislative Auditor General. And what this was a second attempt from a legislator. We don't know who. They tried it once, maybe a year ago, and couldn't get a co-sponsor. There has to be a co-sponsor. This time they were able to successfully get a co-sponsor and request this audit back at the first of the year.
Is that audit exclusively on Riverdale?
No. So the audit was ordered of all RDAs in the state to look at a sampling. And I can't remember if she said it was 10 or 15. but they looked at, I think it was second class counties or higher, second and first class counties. They looked at ones that were completed post, I want to say it was like 1978 or 1975 up to current time. Ours just happened to roll off the books maybe a year and a half ago, and it just, the computer supposedly, I don't know if they did or not, but supposedly randomly picked this one because it fit the criteria. And so we got on the short list. And she reached out to Steve back on March 14th or so, early March, asking to start the process up. We started reporting documentation to her, pretty extensive documentation, as early as March 31st. And every time we'd give her something, and we thought we'd have enough, it wasn't enough. There had to be more, And so I was pulling apart the 5 binders of documents every time and pulling out all these documents and trying to get up to speed to how to best address the requests that kept coming over and over again. And every time I think we'd be done, and I'd tell Steve or Cody we're done, she'd come back 2 weeks later and want more and ask for more information. It was really surgical in how deep she was going on this thing. It was really, really intense. And I don't know if her leadership, her boss, because she kept saying she had to report to her lead. I don't know if she was reporting to someone and then they felt like they had to get more information. She even said one city, I think it was Orem, I think is what it was. They found, they pulled an RDA area that was like 1982, and Orem says, look, we don't have any documentation for you. We can't help you. And so she said she had to go and ask her lead if they could go and give them a different area. And then they pulled another random area, but stayed with Orem and let them supplement a different area. So yeah, it's kind of, I don't know where it came from. And she said that she would not tell us who the legislators until the report was completed, and then it would be publicly available as public information. So we will know at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds political. Can't we talk
yeah.
to Ann Milner and find out if she could?
And I don't even know how it'll work, if it's then reported to the broader assembly or how this whole thing works, right?
Somebody's axe to grind.
But then the very last report we submitted to her, where it was kind of, she was asking for more information, and I just kind of said, look, I've told you this whole process, what you're looking for. And she said, well, that's true, I forgot. Almost like she was still fishing. And I tried to reiterate what I've already told her. And she says, well, just put it in a final email and send it to me. And I did. And that was the end of it. And that was on June 17th. So we gave her everything in the kitchen sink and then some. Like Steve was saying, Cody dug up like 3 or 4 financial reports and sent them to her on top of every document we could find. And now, as of today, at the completion around that date on the 17th, she said she was going to come back with her findings and ideas and try to get feedback and give guidance or recommendations to let us hear it first if we wanted to try to assist or adjust her recommendations and findings. But she said, I'll be honest with you, some of them are not that favorable to municipalities and what I'm going to recommend based on what I'm finding about records keeping and those sorts of things on these. So we'll see what the meeting tomorrow is going to be like, but I'm sure it'll be.
Is there something that we lacked?
The only thing I could say, in all candidness, some of the things she was asking for, we couldn't produce. But like Steve said, we didn't have to produce it, yet she's still wanting it. And then she would say, well, can you at least give me an idea of something that would help me better respond to this? So
what's our, okay, you talk about the binders. What's our responsibility? How many years do we have to maintain those? Like a tax accountant has to keep
right. And that's part of the problem that I think some of these cities are going to face is because they wouldn't be obligated. Where ours just finished, we were lucky that we had that. And then I even went back to some of Larry's notes that we fortunately found. We thought those were gone too. But I think there were some cities that just refused to cooperate. They were ticked about it because they didn't think that was any of their business kind of thing. So.
She did communicate. She said we were one of the more transparent, more forthright. But even then, I would give her and give her and give her, and it would never ever feel like enough. In all candidness.
Well, that's good to hear that she thinks we're nice.
I told her right. We have nothing to hide. We'll show you what we got. We just don't know that we have everything you want. So,
and we were
you're
within
entitled
the state's records retention timeline, I assume. On everything?
What's that? Yeah, that would apply to this stuff because those are state records. But where do you draw that line? I mean, is that at the end of the RDA which ours just terminated not that long ago, so we would still hold on to it for a little while. I think we keep stuff anyway, but those are big records, and we'd love to get rid of those things, but now I'm glad we have held on to them, because this could have been really ugly for us.
After going through this, I would say we don't get rid of RDA documents as much as possible. Having trying to dig everything up, we would have been like Orem and just looked so bad if I had to say, well, you don't have anything, sorry.
I know that's bad, but it's on the legislature to change the records retention if they want to change it.
That's where I'm at.
That's
and
ridiculous.
Now all of a sudden they want to make us look bad and use that
Their own
against
law.
us.
Well, are they looking to, you don't know, but are they looking to find
That's how we felt. So.
a flaw in our RDA process, like we use the money for something we shouldn't have?
She made it. Oh,
Yeah,
go ahead.
That's
Steve.
what they were. That was some of the things they were looking for.
And she made it sound like procedural as well. Like the state will dictate how records will be retained and how staff will operate RDAs. Like very mechanical, right? Not organic or fluid that the city might need, but very. These are the steps, and thou shalt if you want to do them, or else you won't do them. That's sounds like the direction she's going to recommend that they go.
Yeah. And it was kind of funny because some of the things she would ask for, and we couldn't find them. And then we would go back to the old RDA attorneys, and they'd say they didn't require that back there. So the statutes evolved over the years, and that's why we didn't have this stuff. And yet they were cracking down on us, and it's like we didn't need it. That's why we probably didn't keep it. So it's been interesting, but it's somebody's on a witch hunt, and that's what it was.
That's what it is.
Just so you know, I wanted you to be informed. I think we complied as best we possibly could, but I don't know what's going to come of it. We'll find out tomorrow. I'm hoping.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the update.
So I guess the last item of direction is please pay attention to this upcoming legislative session and what may come towards RDAs and redevelopment areas, because there may be something as a result of this report.
We want to keep RDAs, right?
We do. I mean, they stung us this last one by incorporating that housing requirement. That's dinged a lot of those things. And RDAs are a big deal. Riverdale's really been built on that. I mean, we are who we are because of those RDAs. They've been big and still continue to be. Our West Benchman continues to go, even though we haven't even triggered it yet. But it's going to be a big deal. And so it's unfortunate if they take that tool away from cities, which I hope they don't, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, even to that comment, Mr. Stevens, the reality is obviously Riverdale's really taken advantage and benefited of it, and that's great. We've done well with it. What about a nascent city that needs that assistance, right? Yeah. That has some ideas, maybe their population is growing and they could see a benefit from it. If the state pulls the tools away from them, that's not fair to another city that could benefit from that tool.
What's the state's motivation, the legislature's motivation?
Housing? I don't know.
Housing.
Well, I think they're just using the housing to throw it in there because they want to blame everything for housing. But I think it's just control, and they don't trust cities, and they want to dictate everything that happens. And initially, when they started the RDAs, they were pretty broad, and you had a lot of discretion. And they've slowly cracked down on that and cracked down on it. And I think they want to get to the point where they control everything and don't leave any discretion to the cities. But that doesn't work. That's why you do these things, because the city knows what they need and how it's going to work. The state's not going to have a clue, and you can't tailor that to fit everybody. Riverdale's a perfect example, because our city is so unique. The stuff that we did here may not work somewhere else, and vice versa. So you got to be careful with those kind of things. But we'll find out. It's not the end of the world. I mean, we're pretty much done. We're not going to have any more realistically, unless it was a full, knockdown and rebuild kind of thing, but that wouldn't be anything soon that we'd be looking at. So
We don't want it to impact our loan program, though, for the residents. That's
right.
kind of the whole point of it.
Right.
Really.
And our West Bench one's still protected, so we're okay, but other cities are going to be impacted drastically, potentially.
Okay, now, just to conclude, this audit is not, it's Riverdale was randomly selected, and it's not, we're not going to get a black eye from it. We're just.
No, I think we're okay. In fact, I think we'll look good.
Potentially.
Yeah, because we've been over backwards
for it. Or
for
look bad. It's just that this is reminiscent of RDAs in totality.
Right.
I feel, based on my commentary with her and interacting with her, will look more favorable than less favorable in whatever report she has. But there may be a few things that in her mind she feels like was deficient that she'll report as such.
But still, it's not going to, like, not going to get in litigation. We're not going to get.
No.
It's purely a report.
Okay.
it'll be ammunition for the legislature to
Right.
use and say,
Right.
hey, look, these guys aren't keeping any records.
Right.
These guys didn't do these 4 items right, and this group did these things completely wrong, you know.
Got it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes out of it this next session. But I think we've done a good job. So. All right. Anything else, Mr. Eggett? Okay. We'll move on to action items. Consideration to adjourn into a closed executive closed executive session pursuant to Utah Code 52-4-205 to consider the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property.
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Let's do a roll call vote on that to move into a closed executive session.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Okay, that passes unanimously. We are in closed session. Mr. Brooks. Oh, let's turn our microphones off and stuff.
Turn those off. I know you guys get nervous when I keep calling these things, but there are reasons why we are. So there are days, today was one of those, and we had another one about a week ago, that it changes by the hour on some of this stuff.
I was waiting for the thing to stop.
Well, that part's true, though. I've been extremely busy for a while now. I'm not complaining, that's good, but, man, I'm telling you